Okay, so we're going to be making a hitbox for the cursor and of course detecting when you're clicking or right clicking. So first thing we're going to want to do, go to entities. I always just like to rename my guide to player because just like it that way. So you're going to want to make a new unit. Pretty much just want to make sure he's not going anywhere. So it's health. If you have a game with health or something, you can just set it to 1 so it'll never hit 0. So we're going to set this to hitbox cursor. So I'm going to upload I have a PNG file just called invis. It's just an invisible PNG, so you're gonna want to use an invisible PNG as well. So just delete all its entity scripts as well. You don't want to have any scripts here quite yet. So delete all those. Do this unit does not move, and you're gonna want to make it static, but also you want to turn sensor to true. And you're going to want to make it smaller, about 10 by 10. You could go 5 by 5 as well, so I'll do 5 by 5. You're going to want it to not collide with anything. You're going to want it to be able to collide, but you don't want it to be able to actually, Actually, you know what? Just for the time being, I'm going to set this to just an actual thing I can see, just for reference. The fact I can't right click there is a little weird, but okay. New folder. Just like to organize everything nicely. So we're gonna make a new folder and call it mechanics. So in mechanics, we are gonna have our little script called move. Actually, no, we aren't gonna put move here. This is delete this folder for now. The player joins and leaves thing is important. So you're going to want to go to cursor hitbox and you're going to want to give it a variable and call the variable at owner. So we're going to go to our lovely string comparison and just set this to whatever you want as a default. So in this case I just set it to name because that's exactly what it's going to do. So what we're going to do is I'll just name this at hitbox AI. So we'll have this hitbox AI here. And we'll go to environment, player types, and I'll just name this hitbox. You don't want it to be seen either, so get rid of its name label. So it'll get rid of this, so it'll break this, so just change this to hitbox AI, so that it works. Okay, so copy this and create a new unit, so create a hitbox cursor. Instead of last triggering player, you're going to want to change it to hitbox AI. And center of region, so we'll do entire map region. That way it doesn't really matter. You could just leave it alone. It really doesn't matter at all. But what does matter is this part, which is set. So you want to set entity variable at owner of the last created unit as the name, as player name of player. So last triggering player's name. This is important. So now we're going to want to move the hitbox cursor. So we're going to do a new script and call this one move. And this one is an entity script in the hitbox cursor. So we're going to run every frame, every engine tick in this case. So every engine tick, if, else then, we're going to do a string comparison. Although, first you're actually going to want for all units, So you're going to want to do for all units in the game. Then we're going to bring down this string comparison. And we're going to do, actually no, change this to Boolean and do contains. So if string contains value. So if variable, so entity variable at owner of this entity contains value name of player. So in this case, we're going to want to do owner of selected unit. And we're going to want to do before this, I don't know why I didn't bother to add this, but if the we're going to want to go unit type comparison and do selected unit type equals player. This way it's not searching through, other people's cursor hitboxes. If you really want to, you can also do for an easier method, you could do a unit comparison and do if selected unit doesn't equal this entity, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have a reason to. So now we're looking for the player, right? So this is only going to be if it's true, right? So if this is true, great. So we found the player we want. Now we're going to do move, so move entity. So we're going to move our selected entity, or this entity, to position, and in this case we're going to do mouse cursor position. Get player, so owner of unit, and selected unit. Save and apply. So now I'll republish this game quickly so I can have everything working. So you can see here there's a little bit of lag behind. That's kind of going to be expected, although this is a little bigger. Oh, it changed its size. That would explain a little bit here and why it's so big. So we'll save and apply. I'll make it much smaller. I don't want it to be very large. Yep, you see there, 5x5 is the perfect size. It fits just the tip of the cursor, so it'll work very nicely for any game you're trying to make. And of course, I'll add a safety precaution later because of this lag to make sure that when I am clicking, so left click, right click, like that, that the cursor is where I want it to be. So I'll check if it's where I want it to be just to be sure. So what we're going to do next is we're going to detect a left and a right click. So normally, well, in this case I'm only going to be doing a right click. You could add a left click, but I just want to do a right click because left click is usually going to be used for it's going to be used for something else, in this case using an item, so we're going to have it set to something different, but nonetheless we're going to add a new script and call it right click. So when the player right clicks, we're going to go back, just for simplicity's sake, we're going to copy this script. For all units in the game, we're going to copy this unit script, and we're going to paste it here. But we want to only search for hitboxes. And now we're going to want to swap these. So if owner of, and in this case it now becomes selected unit, contains owner of, and in this case it's now this entity, then we're going to just get rid of this move script. So in this case, we're going to first do an if else then comparison. So we're going to use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking the positions. So we're going to use OR and a number comparison. So we're going to do if X, so we're going to do X coordinate of position, and we're going to do entity position. If position of selected unit is equal to, so we're going to do X position again, X coordinate position of value, and in this case we're going to change it to mouse cursor position. So one of this entities mouse cursor position, and then you're going to want to go back and go to the OR section on here and do number and do Y coordinate. So we're going to do Y coordinate of position of entity position and of selected unit is equal to the Y coordinate of position mouse cursor position, and the player is going to be this entity. So now we're checking if their positions are exactly identical, and if they are, when I right click, it should do a fading text on my cursor. So I'll save and republish, and we will see how this goes. Okay. Oh, sorry, I forgot to bind the key. So yeah, let me add a bind here. So mouse right click should run script, right click, save and apply. So now you can see if I right click, it waits. You'll notice that the right click won't happen unless it's at the exact position that it needs to be. So that looks to be about it. There would be specific use cases where you might want to have it a hold per se, right? Let's say you wanted to make it so when I start, like when I start right clicking, nothing happens, or it keeps going. All you would have to do is bind it to be, you would go to right click and you would set it to be, you would set the fading text to a separate right click script. So and you would have a variable in the player, so per se at right clicking, and when the player, so you'd go to the right click bind and you would change it so that it instead, if right click equals true, set it to false. If it's false, set it to true. And you would want to bind it to both the, you would want to set that script to both the on key released and on key pressed. And then in the every second if is true, if that variable is true, then you would just set the fading text. You would still need to run for all units in the game if, you know, cursor hitbox and whatnot, but you would want to have it be that. That's everything. Yeah.